Around 1967, my mother developed asthma. The fact that she developed it at a late stage in her life, about 49, 50, is unusual. You normally have it all your life. Asthma it can be a very debilitating disease. It also has a lot of effects on people. When I would come home, this is around 67, 68, 69, in that area, I never knew what was going to be happening that night with her coughing. This was a really bad case of it. And I would go down to my bedroom, start studying a little bit, and I would hear coughing. And my immediate thought every time was, what's going to happen this time? Are we going to take her to the hospital? Is she going to be there a few days like she had been before? Now, we had moved to this house about 2 years prior, and I didn't understand, but this was the best thing we ever did because we were closer to the emergency room at that time, which probably saved her life a couple times. But I would be sitting down there and thinking, she's coughing, and I'd be worried, thinking what's going to happen. Now, we had a big house, and she would be in the living room up here, and I was in the far end of the house over here. You would be surprised at how much, and maybe I just got to that point where the coughing reverberated so much, it would scare me at times and make me wonder and make me concerned. Other times, I would be upstairs, and I'd be watching her cough. And if at 2 or 3, she'd cough for 2, 3, 4 minutes, and it would just, watching her, what it did to her body was excruciating. She would cough and cough and cough, and I'm not going to do it or I'll start. When it got really bad, she had an inhaler, and she would pop it in her mouth, take a couple quick hits like she was supposed to. She would hold her breath, letting it get into her lungs and her bronchial tubes to at least let her sleep that night. The inhalers back then were not nearly as good as they are now, and all we could hope then was for her to at least be able to get through the night. Now, when I'd be upstairs in the front room watching her, I'm sure she saw my face and saw some concern. And she'd look at me and said, "Bill, I know what's going on here. You don't. It's my body. So if we need to go to the hospital or something, I will let you know. I don't want you to worry." Now, that did about as much good as telling me to go fly a kite. I still worried about it. As the years went on, the next 2 or 3, I would get to the point where I could have somewhat of an idea of what was going on. Now, about this time, it was just my mom and I. My other sister had moved out of the house. And so I would, at some point in time, after a couple, 3 months of this, the stress would get to me and I would need to get out of the house. I would feel guilty. Now, when we were having rehearsals for orchestra, that kind of stuff, for the musicals, I would go there. Now, I felt the guilt, I guess is the best way to describe it, for not being around when she was having her coughing, drove me crazy. It was like, "Bill, you should be there. She needs you. She may need you." So what she would tell me is, "You got to get out of here. I can deal with this. Don't worry about it. If I need something, I will call my brother or my sister, and they are always more than happy to come here and help me." But I would go there. I'd be playing, and it helped a little bit, but I was always all the time thinking, this is not good. What if something happens to her? What if she dies tonight? And that was the last time I saw her. Now, the hospital that I was telling you about, that turned out to be the best thing going, because where we lived at initially was probably a 5 or 6 block ride over main streets, and a couple of these times, even though we took her in the car, if we'd had to go from the initial house, she'd have died flat out. I just knew, it was just obvious. But it was just the feeling of not knowing what was going to happen with her, hearing the coughing at night, not knowing how to react to it, just drove me crazy. Now, when I eventually got out of high school, she moved in with my sister and my brother-in-law outside of Denver. This did a world of good because back in 68, 69, there was a lot of pollution in Denver which affected her breathing. When she got out there, it was a lot better. Now, did she ever get over the asthma? No, people never do. But what did happen was it allowed her to live till she died. It allowed her to live a much better life and make it worthwhile. Thank you.